Hello, foodies. If you are hearing or seeing this, you are not a Patreon supporter yet, and that is totally fine. Nevertheless, thank you for listening to us. Consider joining our free Discord community by clicking on the link in the show notes. And if you can't throw a buck a week to our Patreon, why don't you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or better, do both of them. Also, sub to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/food coaching. And of course, many thanks to all our Patreon supporters for supporting us financially. Now, let's start this show.
Hello, footies. Welcome along to your latest dose of EAFC Ultimate Team podcasting goodness. We're FUT in Review, powered by futcoaching.com. We're recording this on Tuesday morning. It's the 23rd of April. This is episode 606. My name is Wimby. I am joined for today's show by my main man, Shaq Attack, and the scout, Nathan Downs. Loads to get into. As always, we're going to be going through, it's a bit of a group therapy session. The first weekend league of TOTS is just about over, probably pretty much over by the time you're going to be listening to this. So we're going to be going through the ups and a lot of downs for all of us, including the players we faced more often than not. I'll give you a clue. His name is Didier Drogba. And we're going to be getting into lots of other stuff. We have had a new patch out that's fixed one thing and maybe broken a couple of others. We've got the mailbag back as well. And we're also going to be talking through whether EA have actually made the menus too good compared to actually playing the game in terms of earning rewards and the cards you really like. So loads to get into, lads. But first of all, before we get into it, Shaq, my friend, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. It's great to be on the pod. It's been a while since I actually caught up with you guys, and yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on the pod. So yeah, really looking forward to kicking the ball around.
Great to have you back. Nate, you all right?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm happy to be back as a trio. Not that I've not enjoyed the time just with you, Dan, but it's cool to have Shaq about. Slightly deflated about the game just now, not because of the game itself, just because I am going through a very, very poor run of form.
Yeah, I tried to say, are you well and all right at the same time? It just came out as a random noise there. So, that goes. And I think that basically is a great segue into Weekend League, because that's how my Weekend League felt, lads. It was a real mix of things all put together, and I couldn't figure out what was actually going on. I started this Weekend League in probably the worst fashion I have all game cycle. I went 4-6 to start. Then and just getting the worst luck possible, just getting loads of bounce backs going against me. I had someone score a goal after the allotted injury time had gone past, and they started the move in their own half. Anything that could go wrong, I felt was going wrong. And then so I got to 4-6 and thought, this is going to be terrible. Then got gifted 3 wins in a row out of absolutely nowhere. I was just like, to be fair, I got gifted 2, and then the other one, we played about 20 minutes, and then he decided, I don't want to play this guy. Gave me the win as well. Got me back on track, and then I won 3 out of my next 4, and I ended up 11-7, quite comfortable in the end. And I just sit there, and we talked about this, Nath, didn't we? We were like, is Weekend League going to be easier because more people are going to come back to the game, or is it going to be harder because everybody's going to be trying hard? I have to hand it. I think you were of the opinion it was going to be harder, Nath, and I'm going to give it to you because this was this was hard. This was nails.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed this weekend. I struggled to my 11, which for me was, to struggle to there is, I'm not saying I'm a great player, but I don't usually struggle to that. I usually struggle when I hit 13, but it was a slugfest. I think I was pretty much going 1 win, 1 loss at the moment. I think I ended up just on my 11. The red wasn't really anything to write home about, but I didn't get gifted at any wins, didn't get many rage quits. It was all, everything was a battle. I'd lose the odd, absolute maniac that could do everything. But you'd also lose against players that I'm sitting playing going, I shouldn't be losing this game. I was playing better, but like you said, the bounce backs were out in force. The Pirating of the Red Sea, which I spoke about last week, that was out as well. It was crazy. And there was things that my players weren't doing last week that they were doing today. Well, this Weekend League, and stuff that I thought they would do that they just didn't seem to be able to do. And I know it'll be a skill issue, but it was quite demoralising, to be honest.
Well, I've got 2 questions to put to you that I'll also put to Shaq in just a minute, because I played the majority of my games on Saturday and Sunday, and I felt, even though I had no real need to. I felt more pressure because it was a TOTS weekend, because there was something bigger on the line. And I'm wondering whether that whole mentality played into it. Now, I do think the quality of opponents I played was superior to a normal weekend league. Like the games I was losing, I wasn't losing to players that I would normally beat. They were difficult players. But Nath, when did you play your games? And mentally, were you feeling sort of under any more pressure and kind of any more anxiety playing these games?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a daytime player anyway, so it's usually harder to play us through that because it's degenerates like myself. But yeah, there was definitely that added element. I mean, I'm not opening packs, but I wanted a couple of rewards for this team before I open it Premier League, so it does add extra. And I'm sure a lot of it, when I look back, a lot of it is that I was holding sprint too much. I was kind of trying to force the issue a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive in the tackle as well, which clearly left a lot of space for the opponents to move into. So I think I'm saying it is a lot harder to play, and to be fair, the players, like you say, were definitely better overall. But the pressure, I think, definitely, I crumbled like a chocolate hobnob dipped into a cup of coffee, I think. So yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Shaq, you play generally in a region where because there are fewer players in that kind of oceanic region, you're playing a lot of tougher players. I mean, how was this experience compared to most of the year for you?
I think for me, psychologically, it was a false sense of security listening to you guys talk last week, because I started to believe what you said, Dan, thinking, oh yeah, it must be easier. I'm sorry. And I really went in thinking it should be easier. It should be okay to get 11 wins. I went 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, and now I'm at 6-4. And I just told myself yesterday, enough's enough. I just need to take a bloody break from this game because it's horrendous. Every game is extremely hard. As I was telling you, there's every opponent I face in my region, I'm either facing a Pele, Ronaldo, Drogba, of course, is there in every team, Pele, Ronaldo, and Cruyff. These three cards kept appearing in every opposition team, and it's really hard to get past those guys. I mean, you do everything right, and from kickoff, I don't know how, from kickoff, Cruyff and R9, I don't know how I've lost so many goals in kickoff straight off the bat. It just shows that these guys they know exactly what they're doing. They don't really care, and they just come back and win. And you have to slog again and try and get the goal back. And it's been a hard grind this particular weekend. So I thought I'll wait till the end, and hopefully I'll have some idiots like me left over to play. So yeah, it should be. Hopefully I can reach 11, and yeah, I think 11 would be. I'll be happy with 11 this weekend. Honestly, it's just been a really hard weekend for me.
Yeah, I was going through an absolute spell of conceding kickoff goals, and I just need to. I know that I need to just bring these guys down. Just literally give away an easy foul, take a booking, because nothing I think tilts you more than conceding that kickoff goal, because you've worked generally so hard for your goal, and to give it away in seconds, and that just kind of feeds into that negative mentality, and we all know. And, John's talked about it, Nath, you talk about when you're doing your coaching sessions, that can spiral so quickly and lead you to rushing, leads to doing bad habits and stuff. But you mentioned his name, Shaq. I talked about it at the top of the show. Have you two guys seen the episode of The Simpsons where Homer buys the monkey paw?
Mm-hmm.
And, every wish comes with a consequence.
Yes.
Now, I love Didier Drogba. Since the Pro Evolution Soccer days, I have loved Didier Drogba. And ever since getting back into this game and finding out he's an icon, I've been great. I love Drogba. Let's play Drogba. Let's face it, he's been trash. Every game, the man has been trash. Finally, I get what I've always wanted. A Didier Drogba card that is not just usable, but is meta. The downside of it, the monkey paw thing here, is that everyone else is using him, and they're using him against me. The man is unstoppable at times, and we talk about bounce backs. This guy is the absolute king of them. And Shaq, I feel like a bit of an idiot because I put him on my bench this weekend league, mostly for, again, humble brag, Winter Wildcards Pele and Werner. And now I'm just thinking I just needed to go with the drug. What is it about this card that is ruining lives?
I have no idea. He's got some really good stats, and as you say, he just bounces back from every single tackle. And once he gets going, I don't think I've ever stopped a Drogba once he's in full flight. It's so hard to stop the guy, and he finishes everything. Once he's in the box and he's got no one around him, I haven't seen him miss. Oh, well, Nate's shaking his head, so he's probably missed a few on the weekend with Drogba. But for me, again, I must preface this by saying, for me, I struggle to start with Drogba. He's an amazing superstar for me. He comes on and he just scores. Every time I bring him on when I need a goal, he scores some amazing goals. In fact, the reason I'm 6-4 right now is because Drogba's come and rescued me in a couple of games. But for my opposition, every time I faced the Drogba, he's at least scored one game. Every time I faced him, at least.
Yeah, he's an absolute thorn in anybody's side. I said, I'm thinking about restoring into my line. I've got some chem issues I need to work out. But I mean, Nath, look, this card's gone from 368,000 coins a couple of weeks ago all the way up to, I think he's now, 645,000 coins. This guy is the it player right now.
Yeah, he is a monster. I mean, I was shaking my head when Shaq was talking because I felt like he was slightly off for me. I think I must have, annoyed him with my team talk, or so, I don't know. He might have trained with the reserves or something through the week, but he was missing the odd sort of one-on-ones for me and stuff that doesn't normally happen. Usually, I always described him as an auto shoot, but this weekend I did struggle a little bit. But he's so well rounded. Like, he's an all round player. You can play with him on the deck. Like, he's not a slouch. He's not he's not Mbappe's type speed, but he's definitely not a slouch. You can play with his back to goal, so he can hold up if you can shield the ball and lay others in, and obviously you can do the cross. And I like putting it from Beckham onto Drogba's head, or even with the corners and stuff. So he has a bit of everything. And to be fair, like, the prices are very weird just now. I think the craze is Drogba, so that his prices are absolutely shut up, and quite rightly so, because he is outstanding. But the pack, it's weird when the pack weight when he was in packs must have been very low, because everybody has him, and the majority of people are rocking these first owner teams. So he must have been one of the best cards that EA were quite happy to dish out, which is weird because he is so OP. But fair play to them for doing that, because that's what we want. We want to play with these cards that are, they are better. You don't want to just pack fodder and players that'll just never see the light of day. So that's quite good. But at the same time, like you say, coming up against him is an absolute handful, and trying to figure out a centre-back partnership that could potentially deal with that, plus the nippier players or the Werners that just still have that sort of glitch mentality as well. It's crazy. It gives you a few headaches in your squad building.
Yeah, we talk about the weekend league. Oh, sorry, go on, Shaq.
No, I think my player in review is probably the only one that can actually stop a drog, and I've actually done that. So we'll get to there when we get there. There
you go. That's a good reason to keep listening all the way to the end of the show, folks. That's why Shaq is doing it. That's called a tease, everybody. It's called a tease. Sorry, what I was just going to say is, we talk about how weekend leagues being sweaty, being hard, being tough, but I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Nath, with talking about players like Drogba that were cheap and available. Just look at those amount of Galazzo players that have been released. I mean, I played weekend league this leads me into my second weekend league because it's now extended through the week. It's much easier for me to play. So my second account has got some new life, and I had Vialli up front, absolute beast of a card again. And I think he's about, well, he certainly was less than 100k. He might have crept up a little bit more. Now he's back. Now he's out of packs. But when everybody has access to such good cards, again, I spoke about this a few weeks ago on the show. You didn't, Nath, how there is suddenly very few players that now have a massive advantage in teams. They're all really scrunched together. Yes, you're going to run into the odd team of the year Mbappe or R9 team of the year icon, but most people just have very, very good teams. Not just good teams. You used to be able to get to team of the season and you'd be playing players who had players from promos 4 or 5 promos ago. You see like a couple of future stars or road to the finals and stuff like that. You're just not seeing those teams out there anymore. And whether that's because the player base shrunk, as it has, or it's just because the accessibility of these cards is just everywhere and people are at a better ability. I mean, Shaq, do you like it this way? Going toe to toe with competitive teams all the time, or again, you're a bit like me. Selfishly, you're like, damn it, I worked hard for this beast team, and now I've got to face other beast teams.
Yeah, look, it's such a conundrum because on one end, I absolutely loved the Galazzo promo because the amount of cards I've packed. I mean, I packed the Vidic, I packed a Drogba who gets straight into the team. I'm loving the Harry Kewell. There's so many cards that are really wonderful to use. The Vialli doesn't even make my bench, but he was still fun to use. There's a Crouch as well that a couple of people use at that point in time, and there's a Marquez. There's a whole heap of cards. And I love that whole promo because we were trying cards because they were cheap and they were trying good cards. But the problem is, exactly as you said, firstly, everyone's teams are super strong. It's really hard to break down. Every game's a slogfest. Secondly, I can't think about an actual replacement through team of the season. Like none of the cards that have come this week. To be perfectly honest with you, this particular promo, I don't even really know most of the cards because none of the cards actually... I don't think most of the cards are not straight swaps into my team. So I don't really, I think as a player base, I don't really think we know what we want. I've come to that realization that we don't really know what we want. We thought we wanted this. Now that we have this, we're not really sure this is the right thing. So I think, we've got to figure out what we want, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. It's we'll shout, "Oh, we need more of X" when we don't have it, and then we get it and we don't like it. Which kind of leads me into another sort of main talking point as we sort of shift away from Weekend League. And look, we're going to get to things like content as well in the patch and stuff all throughout the show, so don't worry, we will be getting to that. But the Panthers released a video yesterday as we record this on Monday, talking about how EA have perhaps gone a bit too far with rewarding the menu grind as opposed to playing the actual game itself. And he was pointing out how basically he could sit there and grind the menu for a few hours and have a much better chance of accessing some of these promo cards than if you ground out a week's worth of squad battles or, really worked hard for rivals at a lower rank and things like this. And Nath, how do you feel the kind of balance is at the moment? Do you sit there in the morning and think, right, say you want Bruno Fernandes, do you sit there thinking, right, I need to get my wins done, my weekend league done, or do you sit there thinking, I'm going to grind out player picks? Where do you kind of turn your attention at the moment?
To be honest, I'm right in the middle. Galazzo was very much the menu grind because the pack weight or the drop weight was incredible, like Shaq was saying. So, to be honest, I'm not against it. I think when you look at it as a whole, the menus are a very, very big part of it. So, whereas the gameplay is obviously the main thing, the menus are just almost as big, and it's a whole facet on its own. So you do get people that enjoy and just want the menu grind. So I think it's actually quite good that it's rewarding, because very rarely do you do 20 minutes of grind and suddenly have a stacked team. Like, you do have to put in like the elbow grease to do it, whether it's to craft the packs, whether it's to find ways to get more of those gold cards, whether you buy them from the promo store or whether I put about 200k in 89s in the last few days just so I can, open the exchanges. So I think it's quite good that you can be rewarded that way as well, because not everybody is enjoying the gameplay as much as, as we do. I say we enjoy it sort of loosely because it obviously has its moments, but I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I totally get that, the better players should probably be rewarded in a better way, which they are. Because when you look at the weekend league rewards, when you look at the rivals rewards, like, they are tiered. So you've got 87 times 3 or whatever it is, and stuff like that. So you do obviously get better rewards for being a better player, but not everyone's fortunate enough to be at that level. So they need to have a way, like a grindable way and a realistic way of getting these cards. And I don't think we should discriminate against the people that are maybe lower divisions just because they physically can't get up there for whatever reason. So I think it's kudos to EA on this.
Shaq, where do you think the balance lies at the moment?
Currently, the question that you asked, Nate, exactly this. I would say I would just be, if I really wanted to back a particular card, for example, if I was really after a Bissek or a Bruno, I think player picks would be the way to go. I'm 100% guaranteed when I do my weekend league, even my rivals. I'm in Div 2. I'm expecting to get 12 86 plus cards at my rivals rewards. Guarantee you, I'm not going to pack the team of the season that I probably want. Yeah, I'm not even going to pack a team of the season out of those 12 big pools. But just by grinding the player picks, I'm 99.9% sure I will pack one team of the season that I potentially want. That's how the Galazzo promo was. And if I spend enough time grinding out picks, I will get at least one team this season. So that's how the game is. And again, one of the things I really want to point out as well, we talk about the gameplay versus the menu. The red picks, you both play Finish Weekend League, you got your red picks. You can't use those red picks that you've earned through gameplay into the evolution to actually upgrade them. And that itself is a kick in the teeth. It's just weird. It's just silly that those cards are exactly the same cards, just in a different shell. But we should be able to upgrade them as well, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see a FUT Champions Team of the Season Evo released in the next couple of days. I would not be surprised if EA do that. Whether this was deliberate or accidental, I mean, it's EA, so unfortunately, guys, your track record makes me think that it's accidental and this is just an oversight. But, they have got a chance to remedy it. It's really difficult. Look, I understand when a Panthers is coming from in that, you do sit there and you can play 30 games of squad battles and you get like just a trash red pick at the end of it and a couple of really bad packs as well. And you're thinking, well, what's the point in bothering? I might as well have just spent, because that will take you good 5-6 hours plus as opposed to like you said, spending an hour on player picks, or as Nath said, go and buy a few 89s with your coins, put them in the exchanges, and hey presto, you'll probably get more to build your team. And the other point he was kind of making is it once again leads you into the lack of game modes question, because you'll go and grind the menus and you'll get some of these team of the season live cards, and where are you going to pick them? Where are you going to play them? Because Weekend League, as we've just mentioned, has got serious. Squad battles is squad battles. You can play anybody you like, fair enough. Friendlies, at the moment, the cup is the weird and wacky cup, so it doesn't really make a difference. The only place to really try out these players without thinking it's going to cost you is obviously Rivals, which has got a little bit easier, I will say, because people are promoting and not relegating correctly. Obviously no relegation, and then Weekend League playoffs. So we do kind of need that mode. I'd love to see like a TOTS Live Cup, for example, where it requires you to play at least 3 of these, something like that. But I mean, Nath, do you still think, do you go to gameplay for the rewards at the moment, or are you going to gameplay for just gameplay?
Bit of both, mainly rewards, but we're the last few days of the season, so I don't need any XP. I've got my wins last week, so I go out to try, like at the moment I'm trying new formations. I'm going back to a 4-2-3-1 to try and be a little bit more solid, but play around so it's not a boring thing. So yeah, it's hard because, we asked for a different cup mode. They gave us Mystery Bowl, and straight away people are like, oh, it's Mystery Bowl, we don't like that one. We can't have our cake and eat it. And it's a little bit like what Shaq was saying earlier, like we kind of always want what we don't have. And then when we do get it, we want something else that we don't have now. So it's hard. I mean, the game's huge, so they should be able to factor in a normal friendlies with a Mystery Bowl or a no rules or whatever. So I'm not saying that, they shouldn't do things differently, but they mixed it up, and we're still kind of seeing, especially on socials, like we are seeing a lot of, I wouldn't say slander, but a lot of complaints about how they've mixed it up. And I just feel like, I probably sound a bit more like an EA sympathist today, which I'm absolutely not, because they definitely have the downsides. But I do feel like they did try and do something different and try and give us what we've been asking for. But because it's not exactly what everybody's asking for, it's now, oh, well, let's go and do something else. And, I'm like you, I was a silver lounge person last year. I miss having that kind of lounge. And I know that doesn't really come into this, but you usually have like a silver TOTS, like a silver level TOTS. And, some of the promos would be specific for that. So I think that was a big thing they took away. But they have replaced it with other stuff and other ways of grinding packs and stuff. So I don't think it's terrible. I just think that the fan base and the player base always want what they haven't got. And we could literally give them every single game mode available for rewards. And then they'll say, oh, there's too much. Or they've given us this, but why haven't we got Volta in this? Or do you know what I mean? Like, there's always something that people will want, whether it's feasible or not.
Yeah, I'd like to see some sort. I think there's a kind of a hybrid between a cup and Rivals that maybe they could do. Like, I've got so many players to Evo at the moment, but I'm in the Elite Division, and I don't really want to. And so many of these Evo requirements are like play 4 games of Rivals or Champs with X player. And the danger with a lot of I'm trying to Evo 66 Red Reading players, and I'm in that dilemma of, okay, well, do I start them and then sacrifice Chem for the rest of the team and the player I'm bringing on? Or do I wait and hope to get into a winning position and then bring somebody on? And a lot of the time, when you get into that comfortable position, somebody's quit on you. So... I could go and just play Rivals casually, but Rivals games, as we've talked about, they're long. They're 15, 20 minutes. So I'm spending hours as just a byproduct, especially once I've got my 7-8 wins, just to get my player evolved. And that isn't particularly satisfying either. So I wonder if there could be something like a TOTS lounge or an Evo lounge, something where you don't have to make the rewards amazing. Just, make it, just a weekly requirement, win 10 games, win 20 games in the TOTS lounge, and just allow Evos to be used there. Put a cap on the team limit, maximum 90 rated players. Just have something a little bit different. Just something that little bit where we can experiment, play around. I just think that Shaq, that kind of mode is really missing right now.
I think, just go back to the questions that you asked, Nate, about actually playing the game for rewards. So I think I'm playing the game to get enough packs to open up so I can dump it to exchange and do my upgrade grind. That's literally what my end goal is, just to have some more cards. So going back to your friendly mode, if they have a friendly mode that's constantly there, and every 5 wins, you're guaranteed an 89 rated, not even 89 plus, 89 rated non-rare gold. That's all. For every 5 wins in the cup mode, you get an 800 gold. That's all they need to do. Every one of us will be playing that mode, getting those 5 wins casually. We don't really care if every 5 wins you get a card, you go and upgrade, get 51 players, and it's as simple as that. That's all they need to do. And I think not having a cup mode that's consistently there is a silly thing. I don't really understand why EA doesn't have a cup mode that's consistently there. We have a cup mode that's there for a couple of days and then boom, it's gone. There's no cup mode again. And then, yeah, I don't really understand why they keep removing the cup modes. Probably we've all completed the cup modes. They haven't really refreshed it for maybe making it like you finish the cup mode, just go in there, play 2 games a day and you get something else. Or just it's not a hard fix, to be honest.
Yeah, it does seem like a real sort of own goal there. As Nath said, you had things like the Silver Lounge that were there for the last couple of games where you knew, okay, every Wednesday you can go and play it and slowly build up your team and just have little niches like that. And I just think that Evos have been one of the best parts of this game, but they've really dropped the ball in having a place where you can use them and really run them. I'd love to, again, the Silver Lounge was a place where I could play my Reading players without that much punishment. Yeah, I would have some of the silver team of the weeks in there, but there'd be 4 or 5 players, at least for the first half of the year, that I would use happily. So if there was an Evo Lounge, I think that'd be fantastic. Of course, you can listen. Sorry, go on.
Oh, so this cup mode that I was talking about, you can also have an additional caveat where you can actually evolve players there, because you can only evolve 1 player at a time. So Evo mode, this particular cup mode,
exactly.
Evo players as well, along with the 89 reward, your extra bonus Evo players in there.
Exactly that. And of course, you can listen to this show live if you join up to our Discord or Patreon. Of course, patreon.com/futinreview, the place to go there. Thank you so much for those of you who've signed up, who are subscribing, who are giving us, going that extra mile. I joked about it last week, but it's deadly serious. Look, we really appreciate it. You guys have gone that extra mile. And yeah, we love every follower. We love every supporter. We realize that times are tight. But look, the people that put their hand in the pocket and actually give us, their hard-earned cash that allows us to do fun things in the future, to fund things, to fund new equipment, to try out new things and bits and pieces. You guys and girls are the extra 1%, and we thank you very much. But again, thank you to all our listeners. Of course, if you are in the Discord, you can listen to this show live, as Simon is doing. And he said, personally, I'm hoping they introduce extra packs for using specific leagues in Weekend League like they did last year. And Nath, I've got to imagine that they do bring that back as some sort of objective in the next few weeks.
You'd imagine so, but who knows what's going to happen, because there's lots of things where there doesn't seem to be massive patterns to how they do it. But you'd like to imagine that they would do league specific ones, but maybe they'll just keep that for the upgrade ground and give you something, because we know that will come, won't it? They'll have the ones where it's like 3 rares and 8 non-rares or something like that, which sounds tremendous and gives you a bit of hope. But those ones are usually less OP than actual normal player picks.
Okay, yeah. Can I ask you a question? Would you prefer, Simon, yourself as well, would you prefer to have the player picks that we have right now, 80 plus or 81 plus, or would you prefer having the league-specific upgrades?
81 plus all day, because I've never really had much out of those other packs, but picks, at least you can either pick the fodder, so if you get a high-rated one that's not specific, you can exchange out, you can build normal SBCs, the picks all day, any day.
I think I have PTSD from opening those packs at like bloody Team of the Year and Team of the Season last year, and just pack after pack after pack after pack. Yeah, I'm happy with these picks.
Absolutely. As much as I mourn the old league SBCs, bring them back. I want to be completing a team made up of paddleborn players, please, and selling my bronze paddleborn players for 30k if the opportunity arises. But enough of nostalgia. We are going to be looking to the future. Of course, there is a new patch out. There's lots of content. There's been, not so much content that's been released over the past few days. Loads to get to. But first, we are just going to take a very short break. Although, if you're in our Patreon, you don't even hear this break. So for you, time will pass like that. But for the rest of you, here's a little break.
Hi, it is John, and I know advertisements or breaks in podcasts sucks, but they do keep this show running. So are you, however, tired of these advertisements or are eager to find the forward button to skip these? There's actually an easier way to do that and getting our shows earlier while you're at it. Check out patreon.com/futinreview and support us through there. Starting from $1 a week, you can get discounts on coaching from the team at FUT Coaching. You get no more advertisements, special bonus content, and access to our events. And if you are on Spotify, you can also click the sub button there. So check out patreon.com/futinreview or the sub button on the exclusive content on Spotify. And now let's return to the show.
Right, welcome back to part 2 of the show. TOTS, of course, in full swing, but the content side maybe not quite as lively as we've been expecting so far. Nath, I mean, since the launch of the promo on Friday, any SBCs or objectives or anything that's caught your eye that you want to discuss?
Not particularly. I'm in two minds about Vasquez, just mainly because if he gets the upgrades and the Evo, he could be tremendous. I'm in two minds about that. He's not overly expensive, so I might just do him to have in the club. There's the Havertz one, which I know Shaq wants to go on to, so I'll leave that. There's the Rio Ferdinand icon SBC. I don't actually know if that was released during the TOTS or was that before, but he's another one that I've got my eye on. But apart from that, there's not been an awful lot really to hit home about. I'll slowly get my way through that McGinn objective, which I'll have just to have an extra high-rated player. But apart from that, it feels a little bit more like warm-up still rather than full-blown TOTS.
Yeah, it's worrying, Shaq, that we've had more showdowns than TOTS players released so far in SBCs.
Yeah, exactly. There's hardly been any really good content apart from, I think Havertz is decent content, especially considering that Arsenal's doing well. He can get the +2 upgrade, which takes him to a 94. I really like the fact that he's got a whole lot of things. His stats are really well placed. He can play in multiple positions, play striker, central midfielder, left back. He can play literally everywhere on the pitch. I'm really stuck in between wondering whether Havertz is a go for my team or not, because a lot of people there's a lot of love for Havertz on my X timeline. I'm sure you guys have seen the love for Havertz as well. Nate said he's probably not really convinced that he's going to do Havertz. He might consider Rio, which I'm considering as well. But what about you, Dan? Would you prefer Havertz?
This, for me, is one of those cards. I mean, look, it's 1.4 million coins worth of fodder right now. It is a very good card. I'm not going to dispute that at all. I think it looks fine. But this is one that you really need to see the actual TOTS cards from the major leagues before you dive into this, especially the Premier League one and the content that comes out. I think if you've had a dire need for this kind of a card, great, go and do it. I think Cam probably is best position, maybe wide Lam or Ram as well. I'm not overly convinced by him at left back. I don't like the medium. I just think the strength and defence aren't elite. But look, if Arsenal get the 2 upgrades and you put, he can't fit into the Evo. But if he gets the 2 upgrades, he's going to be a monster of a card. But why not just wait, is my opinion on this card. See what the weight is for the Prem TOTS players and see what the general quality is like of them. Because I'd hate to chuck so much fodder into a player unless you had a specific role for him in mind. And that is the one problem. As I said, I look at this card and I go, well, what is he, Shaq? What is that card designed to be? I think his utility is fantastic, but then you fall into that territory of, but you could play X or Y ahead of him in those roles.
I think a lot of people have mentioned that he's a really good box-to-box. My only concern is he's not this agile box-to-box like even a Rolfo or a Sawa. He's not as agile as he should be, so he will catch me off guard. I'll find him hard to dribble as a box-to-box, but a lot of people are having a lot of success with him as a box-to-box with the finesse shot plus as well. So it's a tricky one. And as you said, I think your point is pretty good, just to wait till Premier League TOTS and see what comes and then see the drop rate and then decide, I guess.
There's definitely a lot of chat about him playing above his stats, because obviously if you want a box-to-box, you'd want probably better work rates than that, and also the shooting. He's got quite low shooting, mainly brought down by his penalties and the shot power. But at the same time, if you're at this stage of the game, if you're playing a box-to-box, you'd want somebody sort of at least high 80s with the shooting, if not into the 90s on a card like that. So, but then you do hear that he plays above those stats, which sometimes I think that's just people trying to get their view across. Everyone wants to have a slightly different view, so it's really hard to tell. And that's the downside. If there's no loan, you can't even if they give you a 5 for cards over 1 million sort of coins, they should be giving you a loan, so you can say that's definitely worth my time, or I'm going to skip that one, like they do with the icons. But I just think that he doesn't seem all there to be 1.4 mil. When for 2.4 mil you get that Bruno card that looks ridiculous.
Yeah, as I said, he's out until a week Friday. So you'll have the entire TOTS Prem cycle to make your mind up. I just think wait. I just think wait on this one. One I wouldn't wait on, Maya Ramirez. I think Chelsea are in absolute unstoppable form as Emma Hayes looks to sign off in absolute style. They've just beaten Barcelona women in Barcelona in the Champions League, which shows you the strength of the team right now. She's only 52,000 coins right now. Pretty nice all-round cheap B striker. Great if you are just starting a new RTG or a second account. But also just the fact that she's very likely to be a 93 rated card, Shaq, for just 52,000 coins. It just makes sense in just a value for money for a future fodder down the line.
Oh, yeah, she does look like a really good card. She's got really good play styles as well. I think, yeah, it's a really good fodder dump, And she's available for a couple of days, isn't she? Yes, she's available all the way till 4th of May. So, yeah, definitely consider doing that.
The one thing is Chelsea women aren't unstoppable because last weekend, United ladies beat them 2-1 in the FA Cup semi-final. So,
yeah, but talking WSL, WSL, Nath, where it's at with the mini Messi, Frank Kirby leading them to glory. The other things, 2 showdowns released as well. One of them, again, I don't like what they're doing with these showdowns to promote FC Live. I think they need to give them a different background or something different because it's just confusing. I know it's said in the text and I know it only takes you 30 seconds to read, but I don't like it. I don't like this. It makes it a lot harder for you to judge, who is going to win these contests. So you've got Robertoni against Campos. Again, that's an FC Pro Live finals matchup contest. It looks like, both of these are so heavily downvoted on Footbin. They're down at, Robertoni is 91% downvoted, Campos 88% downvoted. Neither are brilliant beyond a starting account, so I wouldn't really say it. But, if you do pick the winner, I think Campos, if you haven't done the Showdown Evo and he does win, Shaq, I do kind of like this card. It's got Whip Pass Plus, which is always an instant win for me. And he's got, Finesse, Power Shot Plus as well.
Power Shot.
I think a Campos could be worth a cheeky little, he's only 36k, Shaq.
Yeah, for the price, I think it's worth a fodder dump. But is it worth the time? It's probably worth the fodder, but is it worth the time of dumping everything into the card? That's the issue. Look, he's not a card that we will ever use, even if he's upgraded. I don't think we will actually use him unless he becomes this meta monster that we just goes under the radar, which I highly doubt. But he's got decent stats. I'm not really excited by it. And I don't really like this concept. And I think I really like your idea of having showdown cards for this EE football for the
FC Pro Live.
FC Pro Live, or not eFootball, FC Pro Live, to have a different background. So it distinguishes them from real life football. So it just adds a different spice to the card. I think that's a much better idea than what they're doing right now.
Yeah, EA mistake number 587 this week was they got the player images wrong when they first launched this SBC as well. So GG's again, EA, GG's.
Yeah, especially after the Alexandra one. They've done it again. It's just bizarre.
Still waiting for my compensation, by the way. The EA tweeted that they had remedied the compensation for this, and I completed the one that was listed as being Sandro, and obviously got Caputo.
Oh, Caputo.
But I haven't got Sandro. Where's my Sandro, EA? You said you'd fix this. So what compensation have you handed out? Anyway, one to keep an eye on. The other showdown at SBC, Nath, Kera against Ben Rama, shows how much I've been following closely real world football, because I sit here and I think, when did they move from West Ham? When did these guys move?
The Ben Rama one was just ongoing. He was engineering that, but again, they're a bit meh. And when we talk about the value for them and stuff, I'm like, well, some of these TOTS cards, the TOTS live cards, are almost discard value now. So I know it's slightly different putting coins in compared to players, but some of those, holding packs, I wouldn't go out my way to do it. They look fine. I think, to be fair, I think they'll do a job. Kera looks fairly good, but I'm not enthused by this. I don't know whether because I'm not enthused by the premise, I'm just not really following them as much. But I think even with the full upgrades, I think that you're going to get better players in a week's time anyway. A lot easier to pack than you won't have to use your own players almost. Yeah,
I agree. Look, there is the odd one that will slip through the net and show us. I remember Nathan Ake had a showdown just before TOTS a couple of years ago that turned out to be really good. I think it might have been a League Cup final one, and I used that all the way through TOTS. Yeah. It was that good. Kera with that 5-star weak foot again, you have to look at all of these cards through the scope of they need +2s to even be in the conversation. But again, for my second account, a fairly fresh defense, this guy's perfect. I went out and completed him, and he plays really well so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that does. But yeah, I mean, these do very much seem orientated at if you are a brand new player, because none of them seem meta monsters, as you put it, Shaq, to be able to get into the team. So look, do them at your own. The best thing I can say about all of these showdowns is they're cheap. And they're not going to cost you a lot of fodder. Joke about time. Maybe that is the biggest one. But at least they're available, and it gives you a little bit of extra skin in the game. If you are watching the FC Pro Live finals, they're still dropping packs and things like that. It gives you a little bit of extra interest in that. And I can't blame EA for putting out players that are designed to get people to watch their events. So that's perhaps to be explained. And again, Kera playing for Monaco now. Ben Rama playing for Lyon. Looks a really good Trickster. He has got Trickster and the dribble playstyle plus, which I can't even remember the name, technical plus. My brain is mushed. These guys. That's what playing 2 weekend leagues has done to me, gents. I can't even talk anymore. But again, if you like, it looks like the definition of a fun card with those two playstyles. So it's out there and available to do if you want to do it. I did mention as well that we have had a title update. I think it's title update 13 we're on now. Now, the only real notes we got was that they are finally fixing that glitch where it displays every time you complete something, it says level up in the top right-hand corner, even though you haven't leveled up. Apparently that's now fixed. And there was one other tiny thing about concept players not appearing correctly that they have fixed as well. However, this was a large patch for me. And one of the things that I've noticed, and again, it's only just before midday on the Tuesday, the patch has only been out a couple of hours. Shaq, I asked you this question before we went on air. I was doing some player picks. The border for picking a player, the actual thing that shows you which player you're selecting on console at the moment, that seems to have disappeared.
Exactly. And we did a test run earlier, and that completely disappeared. And the only way you know what player you're selecting is when they flash up for a second, and you just have to hope that you haven't moved your controller, and you just keep your eyes glued to the screen. So, yeah, I don't know why that's disappeared, but hopefully it gets fixed soon, because there's going to be a lot of pain trying to do player picks on console.
Yeah, they can't seem to fix one thing without breaking something else.
Well,
look, go on.
They did tell us a while ago that they fixed those objectives, where you have 19 objectives you've done, but you go inside, there's nothing that's available to you. And I just logged in to check the player pick, and it said I had 8 objectives done. I actually looked in, I had just 2. So it's that's still broken. So
yeah, I think someone was talking on one of the podcasts a while ago that this game has just been built over so much old code that it's now gotten to the point where they don't even realize when one thing affects the other. It's just such an absolute mess. And again, don't have to have a developer. You're more than welcome to come onto this show, guys. futinreview@gmail.com. Someone have to explain it, but I can absolutely understand that kind of how the architecture gets built. Again, I go back to that famous example a couple of years ago where they said there was a showdown SBC of Vardy against somebody. They're like, we're going to give people new play styles back when, or traits as they were back then. And then they realized they couldn't actually do that and had to cancel the SBC. So again, not to be that unexpected, but look, whether it is tweaked anything on gameplay modes, I've seen a couple of people in our Discord saying that it's players have been playing around they've been falling around like Fall Guys this morning. I've only played one game of squad battles before we went live with this show, and the only thing I noticed was that the Oppo keeper was saving everything. So have there been shadow changes? We don't know, but I'm sure by the time we get to Friday, we will find out. Time to get on to the final couple of segments of the show. Of course, we've got the mailbag to finish, but just before we get to that, it's player in review. And Nath, I'm going to start with you, and this is a player you wanted to review a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, as I was fortunate enough, like you were, Dan, to pick the Winter Wild Cards Pele out of a player pick. Up until this weekend, he has been ridiculously good. His pace is electric. He doesn't have many. Well, he's only got one playstyle plus, which it's a little bit of a downside to him. However, he's electric. His dribbling's unreal. His finishing on the whole is ridiculous. Doesn't win a lot of headers, but the rest of his game is just stupidly good. You can see why he's 3.5 mil still. I know there's the 97 out, which I can only imagine is just unbelievable. But this guy can do pretty much everything. His passing's very good. I've been playing him as a striker off Drogba, so I've got little and large up front. I've just put him as central cam in the 4-2-3-1, so I'm not 100% sure what like, because I've only played one game and I went to the 4-2-2 after a while. But he's definitely one of these top tier cards, and he's the best player that I've got in my side currently.
That's
look, I've generally loved Pelé. I think he's a very good all-rounded card. But again, I just have that Drogba regret. The fact he's taken Drogba's place in my team. And also, again, skill issue for me because I don't do many 5-star skills. Shaq, your review today.
My review is the icon centre-back, Rio Ferdinand. I think when we were talking about Havertz, Nate mentioned that Havertz plays above his stats. And Rio, I think he completely plays above his stats. His stats, and you compare them to any team of the season defender, even if you compare them to even Marquez or Akanji, probably won't stand out as much, but he is him in game. He's so good. He's probably the only defender so far this cycle that I've actually thought, this guy is better than Van Dijk. And he really, we shouldn't be comparing a gold card against a team with the icon, but we all know what Van Dijk does in this game. Rio is just solid. He shouldn't be as solid as he is because he should fall over, but he just holds his own, and he's got anticipate plus, which just gets the ball away from the opposition. I don't think he's put a foot wrong for me, and he shouldn't be as fast as he actually is in game. He shouldn't be as agile. His passing is at 70 or 70. It's not really that high, but his passing is pretty crisp of what he is. I'm really enjoying Rio. I think I convinced myself after using Rio. I just bought the tradable version of Rio. I'm going to sell him soon, and I think if I don't get anything for Prem TOTS to do as an SPC, I'll just complete his SPC and use him for the rest of the cycle. He is that good.
You know how to tempt a man, Shaq. You know how to tempt me. I just looked at his stats, and he's just so close to Sol Campbell, and I've been getting on with Sol Campbell that it's so hard to commit to that 2 million coin SBC, because once you're in, you're in. And everybody knows that the second you're into one of those SBCs, something else comes out that catches your eye, because that is the world we live in our own versions of The Truman Show. That's how the script gets written. So very tempted to do it. I do need to try out the loan. I might try out the loan for the first few games of Weekend League to make my mind up next time. My player for review this week, nothing particularly amazing. I'm going to review Ruben Loftus-Cheek, the cheapest of the players we've mentioned. He's only about 250k. Used him on that second account. Helped get me 11 wins. I just think he's just an absolute textbook box-to-box midfielder. He's good in the final third. He's great in his own third, and he's fantastic in the middle. Just think if you're looking for that player on the cheap, and again, considering this is a card that can get upgraded and also evoed as well, I think it's fantastic. If you are looking for that box-to-box midfielder, go out and get him. I can't even really describe what he does well. He just does everything well. I don't think there's anything I would say he's utterly amazing beyond brilliant at. I just think he's just that perfectly well-rounded card. And again, I think if you're sat there looking at Havertz or Loftus-Cheek, I'd much rather go out and actually spend 250,000 coins and try Ruben Loftus-Cheek first, and again wait for those upgrades, rather than having to kind of completely gamble on Kai Havertz and spending that 1.4 million. And again, he can even play like right wing back as well. I'd love him if he actually played right back, because that would solve some chemistry issues, but that is very much wimp problems. So that just about wraps up today's show. Only one other thing I wanted to bring up before we ride off into the sunset. Of course, we've got one question for the mailbag as well, which I will say from Oh Bugger It, which is a really nice scene ender. But also, gents, is Bisek the biggest player you've ever seen in FUT? Because I thought my game might have been broken by how many pixels this guy was taking up on screen. The man is a giant. I thought I'd accidentally triggered some sort of cheat code as I was playing against him. Just huge. The man is giant, Shaq.
Oh, I think he's humongous in game. And I think especially when he comes across against a female player like a Dabinia or Fran Kirby, he just looks massive in front of them. I think Vanya Milinkovic-Savic last year was actually bigger in game, but because the comparable players were equal size, or at least 6 foot above or 5'11", it didn't feel that big. But yeah, in this particular iteration of the game, Bisek's humongous. I just wish he had the Anticipate Plus. He'd be such a good card with Anticipate or even Intercept.
Nath, how do you feel when you see Bisek lining up against you?
I've never seen this version of Bissek. I
Ooh,
think was
you're
it his
in for a
foot
treat.
birthday? Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I might just try and grind some picks out to see if we can get him, to be honest. But I think it was his foot birthday I had. I'm sure that was 88, but it was quite a fast rated card, and he was good, but he didn't stand out on that as just being like a monster. But to be honest, I wasn't really looking for that. So maybe I'm going to have a bit of fun now. Sort of just maybe I'll just go and quit games until somebody has a Bissek and try and play against them.
It's like the Terminator just striding out. They always get the dun 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 music as they suddenly like just destroys your attacker. But yeah, very good card. You can see why the card is rocketing up in price. But let's just finish off with the mailbag. Talking about players that make your life a nightmare. I know you've got some thoughts on this one, Nath. Bugger, it says, Playstyle's my favourite part of the game. They probably saved this FIFA for me. Usually by this time of the year, players start to feel a bit samey, but it's really helping players still feel unique. What playstyles would you add next year? So for you, I thought of toe poke for those fox in the box players. They don't score wonder goals, but do have a knack of getting the ball in the back of the net. Similarly, goal hanger specialises in hanging off the shoulder of defenders to get in behind. Finally, tight marker for those defenders and midfielders who specialise in ruining the day of a more skillful player. I like those. I don't think EA have got the ability to code something like a goal hanger, because otherwise we would have players that already did that. But look, if this was a dream world, I love all of those three. Nath, I know there was a particular Playstyle Plus that you wanted to introduce next year. One that we couldn't, the original title of which we can't say on a family-friendly show, but you've come up with a nice PG-13 name.
Yeah, well, I'll need to credit you with the name. I think we decided we'd go with Maverick, potentially.
Yeah. Or Rogue,
Or Rogue, or Anthony/Neil Maupay trait, where basically the guy's just an absolute menace, where he will time waste, he'll take yellow cards for like little fouls in the counter-attack, he'd kick the ball away, he would time waste, he would just be a general nuisance and just be like one of these players that's just not very nice to watch, but also be hilarious if he was on your team. So I would love that type, if you're in the sort of 80th minute onwards and you're 1-0 up, this guy just goes to town. He'll go to the corner flag and just sit on the ball so you can't get it. He would, pick the ball up and just kick it over the stadium like that. I think that would be hilarious. But I'm not quite sure if anyone else would agree with that.
Shaq, any that come to mind for you?
Nothing else comes to mind. I was trying to think of every single different play style, and we already have them, like an acrobatic or a technical plus, or even like all the play styles I could think of. We already have, even including a slide tackle. So yeah, I'm out of ideas.
Maybe a special goalkeeper trait though, because I don't think we have specific. I know we've got like rushes from line, but could you imagine like a pure sweeper keeper where he actually plays like a centre back? Or
they had traits last year for
there's like saves with legs, so punch or whatever. But I think something like that, because I know I'm biased because I'm a goalkeeper and I'm still involved with that, but goalkeepers are just so forgotten about at the moment. Like really, I know we had the Czechs at SBC, but they haven't done much work with goalkeepers at all. So I'd love to see something like that if we're being sensible.
Yeah, Chris mentioned that on Friday's show as well. We do need to do goalkeepers. Anyone I can think of, and one that I've always been sort of disappointed they don't implement, is something to do with the captaincy, something to do with leadership, whether that's a chem boost or maybe a stamina boost or something like that. I just think that
passion trait.
Yeah, the passion trait is something like that, something that should reward those players that are just like pure leaders. Your Roy Keanes, your Vieiras, your John Terrys of the world. There just needs to be something like that. Even like the Messis, that inspire their teams through, Maradona type players as well. Something like that. If you give someone the armband, it just gives anybody around them, even if it's like a small extra chemistry boost or just something like that.
Or just even like a fitness boost in the second half, like a 10% fitness boost for 3 people around that position. So yeah, that's a really good one, Dan. Well, Super
Sub could be a good one as well. I mean, Reading used to have Adam Lafondra, who used to come on and just score goals. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer used to do it for Man United. Maybe something gets a plus one, because players don't usually get chemistry boost if they come off the bench. Maybe if you've got the super sub trait, you still get +1s or something like that, or acts as 2 chemistry when you're coming off the bench, something like that. There you go. Our ideas are free for now, EA, but you know what to give us in our next icon packs. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Just
talk about icon packs.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Talk about icon packs.
So to close the show, Shaq, you've got a treat for us.
Well, treat. That's yet to be seen. I've got the level 40 player pick, all thanks to EA. Thank you very much for giving this extra XP this week. And I had no hope in hell to get it. And just played a few games this week, and lo and behold, I'm at level 40. So I'll open the pick, and let's hope there's something. Let's hope EA brings some luck. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Off I go. It's opening. Oh, wonderful. All right. All I can say
Your actually says it all on the video show. People will be able to see.
There's 2 Dynasty icons and 1, what was it? Thunderstruck right. Icon. So the Dynasty icons are friggin' Veron and Haji.
Oh, and my word.
The Thunderstruck. I wish you know. It's actually Van der Sar, Thunderstruck Van der Sar, which is, it is
not the worst.
Not the worst.
For free.
Yeah, for free. Yes, a lot of my time spent on trying to grind this, but yeah,
stick it to not upgrade check. You're fine. Or
I only got Pele in mind, so they're trash.
Oh, what a guy! What a guy!
On that note, I'm going to run for Shaq attacks me. Shaq attacks.
You got Pele in your level 40.
Yeah.
You freaking.
I got 2 of your 3 rating on this show.
I got 2 of your 3 on those, but instead of getting Van der Sar, I got the Figo, which was
that's not bad.
He's in this. I don't even know if I've still got him. I must have done because I don't think I've done SBCs, but he's been buried. He's away. He's done. He's doing a Schweinsteiger and training with the under-16s just now.
Are you? Have you? Interesting. Just I know we're running really long here, and most people have turned off by now. But for those of you who still are listening, Nath, you've historically been a dragon. You hoard all of these special players. Has that changed now? We've got things like exchanges. Are you a bit more liberal to throw these players in? No, you're still hoarding.
I'm still hoarding the player that I'm putting into these. I ended up buying Hegering. Is it Hegering? Hegerberg, sorry. She's the cheapest 89 on the market, and I've got one in my club, but I'm still spending so I can buy her. And so I spent 200k on her and Diani, the 2 cheapest for me. Whereas I still keep the gold cards. Like I've still got one of each in my club.
What?
Yeah. I don't know why.
That doesn't make any sense, and
it doesn't. But then when I see the due for one of those come out, I'm like, yes, that's another one for the exchange. But no, I'm still keeping them. I mean, I really should just be clearing them all out. But I'm sitting on 1 point. I'm down to 1.6 mil, I think now, or 1.6 mil. I'm at, I think, just now, potentially 1.5. So I've got enough to do what I want to do if I want to do something. But if not, I'm just enjoying these exchanges because it's actually a part of the game I'm enjoying.
If you do Rio Ferdinand, you're not going to use any of these specials into him.
No, I will do. If there's an SBC that I'm dying to do, then I'll do that. But I don't throw specials into like random SBCs or just bog standard ones. It's got to be like an elite tier one to get me to part with them.
I understand.
I'll get rid of specials unless it's a player that I particularly like. So, like for example, I've got like Kimpembe FUT birthday that just won't go in it because there might be at some point he can be evoed. But if it's a player that I'm never players like Figo and stuff like that, if I've pulled them from an icon SBC, if I don't particularly like them, even though they might be able to get evoed at some stage, I still won't use them. So they go in. So yeah,
the new cup modes put a spanner in that because I was thinking that, but now we're having 1991 rated cup modes. I'm trying not to get rid of them in case they can come in handy. But
I see it, but nah, not for me. Right, that does wrap up the show. We've gone for just about an hour now. Thank you so much to those of you who listened again. Thank you for all those supporting us on Patreon and all those in the Discord as well. Of course, Discord now completely open and available. Of course, we've got the big Crete trip coming up, the annual meetup going in Crete. Unfortunately, none of the 3 of us can be there. We are all responsible for holding down our forts back home, and we'll probably be doing a show, the 3 of us, while the guys are off there having the time of their lives by the pool. Drinking cocktails. We'll still be here doing our bit, but loads to look forward to on FUT in Review over the next few weeks. Of course, Premier League Team of the Season launches on Friday. John will be back with the show then for all the analysis of the players. I'm sure Ingvi will be joining him. Loads happening. Thank you so much for all of your support. Only one thing for us left to do, gents. Shaq,
drop it.
Nath,
drop it.
We are going to drop it.
Drop it.
You. You. You.
View. T. In the view.